Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, thank you for being here. Also, I would like to say that thank you for keeping up to time. This year we are doing very well. Please, a huge round of applause for ourselves. Yeah. As I've mentioned, you and your time are my project. So please help me to complete this project successfully. Would that be okay? It is still the National Project Management Conference 2024 here at Rock City Hotel. And here we are tackling or looking at the theme, sustainable project management for the future, right? Yes. And while we're looking at these things, we're still exploring the topics as we go along. And to do so, we have an amazing gentleman who I've met literally in the 4 years I've been attending this conference. And he's here every year as I've come to know him. He's busy about scaling Project Management Institute across Sub-Saharan Africa. He is the MD of PMI Sub-Saharan Africa. Please, let's welcome George Asamani.
Thank you very much. Thank you, MC. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone today? Welcome to the lady from South Africa. Hi, my name is George Asamani, Managing Director for PMI in Sub-Saharan Africa. It's a real pleasure to be here. I want to thank Frank and his team in the Ghana chapter. The team is doing an amazing job, as we can see here. Not only, round of applause. Thank you. Absolutely. And it's not just here at the conference. It's throughout the year with the events that we see the Ghana chapter doing, the information they're providing in the print media, the social media as well, in terms of creating awareness for the profession. It's a phenomenal job that Frank and his team are doing. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to speak with you. You probably heard me saying this many times. You know, the saying goes, you could have chosen to be anywhere right now, but you chose to be here. So thank you for choosing to be here. It's a privilege for me to be able to speak with you. I'm really looking forward to this program. I know we've started already. Looking at the agenda, there's quite a lot of very interesting topics and, of course, various esteemed speakers. So thank you to the speakers for attending and thank you for sharing your knowledge. So the president asked me to speak about PMI Next. PMI Next is the global strategy behind PMI. It's a new strategy. Why do we come up with a new strategy? Because we are a for-purpose, not-for-profit organization, and it's really, really, really important for us to live by that and to make an impact. We're actually held accountable to that. Of course, we've been a for-purpose, not-for-profit for a long time, since the beginning. So what's different now? I think the difference is that we're making sure that this thinking and this status runs through our strategy, and this thinking and this status runs through our culture. And so that's what PMI Next is about. I'm going to touch on that. Why is it important? It's important actually because it's all about purpose and impact. It's aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, it's aligned with the theme of this conference. Personally, I believe that project managers are the hidden superheroes. Somebody comes up with a great idea, but that great idea just stays on paper unless a project manager translates it into reality. And so in that translating into reality, that's where you see the impact happening, and that's where you see whether it's sustainable development or capital gains or whatever the case may be. And so I want to be able to just share a little bit about the vision of the region. You've probably heard me say this before, but really it's on the three key areas in terms of PMI Next. The first is what you see on the left, the youth. When we think about the youth, what do we think about in terms of their skills? We know that right now across Africa, there's a challenge when it comes to youth skill set. People are going to school, but are they getting educated? And when they come out of school, do they have the skills to get things done? So what we're talking about is complementing the youth skill set with actionable skills. And project management is one of those critical, actionable skills that we need in Africa. So that's part of the PMI Africa strategy, in line with PMI Next. Second, the picture in the middle, this is all about whether you're a corporation that's doing an energy transition or you're executing some part of your strategy. We'll work very, very closely with companies to help them execute on their strategy. I see a lot of yellow t-shirts in the room, a lot of yellow t-shirts. And MTN is one of those companies that we work with to try to provide the skill set for them to execute on their projects as they execute on their strategies. The picture on the right is meant to represent our work with governments, whether it's infrastructure or whatever the case is. Us working as part of the Africa strategy to help countries, governments, and even multilateral organizations like the African Development Bank, African Union, execute on their strategies across Africa. As we know, as is highlighted in the PMI Code of Ethics, we make decisions and take actions based on the interests of society, public safety, and the environment. So in terms of what we're doing as project managers, it's absolutely critical. So back to PMI Next. Before I say anything else, let me just play this video. Let's watch.
A growing movement is underway.
Is the audio up?
Led by a community that inspires action.
Through the work I do in project management and as a project leader, my purpose is really to give back and to be of service to others.
If the PMI were not in existence, they didn't have that repository of information and that support network, I don't think I would have been as successful in the projects that I have been in charge of.
A community getting things done to ensure project success.
For me, it's the focus on our UN sustainability goals. So if we could save one life, then that project was well worth doing.
Global warming is affecting different communities around the world. So apply the knowledge that you have to reduce the effects and to reduce the impact that we are making on our planet.
I really want to make the world a better place. I really want to use my skills and talents to make people's lives better.
Driven by the desire to transform and contribute to a better world.
What we call in PMI the power skills. Leadership, negotiation, motivation, communication, and very importantly, the emotional intelligence that you need to have in order to lead others.
Empowered by lifelong learning and continuous skill development.
I'm able to stay on top of what's the latest, where the industry is going, and apply those resources and skills and knowledge to my current role.
And professional certifications that establish the gold standard.
We didn't do magic. All we did was the same project monitoring principles.
Millions of actions every day, working to deliver project success. The world needs projects to succeed, and success starts with us.
I love working with people. I love seeing them grow and become great versions of themselves. Probably the best compliment I ever got was, I had a job and then I worked with you and now I have a career.
We are the Project Management Institute. We maximize project success to elevate our world.
Thank you. Thank you. So my favorite part of that video is where you see and hear our sister saying, we didn't do magic. All we did was the same project management principles. I think that sums up the profession. It seems like magic, but actually it's a group of professionals executing on technical things, soft things, and business acumen that gets the job done. So moving on, I'm going to touch on PMI Next, as I've been asked to do. Really, the PMI Next, the new strategy, can be summarized in this slide. The slide, as you see, has about 4 different sections. The top talks about purpose, which is our why. The second layer talks about our strategy in terms of what we do to deliver. And within that, the strategy is where do we play, who do we serve, and how do we operate. And then the bottom part is around our culture. I'm just going to touch on it very quickly. If anyone wants more information, we can sit down and go into detail. So just starting with the top part, we maximize project success to elevate our world. This is in terms of our purpose. As I mentioned, We've been a for-purpose, not-for-profit organization for quite a while. And the objective now is to ensure that this is in our DNA, not just written on a piece of paper somewhere, but this is in our DNA in terms of using the profession to make an impact, working with our partners, whether it's corporate partners or government partners or even the youth. How do we make sure that the skill that we transfer, the skill that we help to develop is actually being used for good and used to make an impact? The next layer, which is where we play. So this is really where our focus is. And you can see there in the red section, it's in three buckets. Let's call them buckets. So the first one is community-generated knowledge platforms and resources. So community is at the heart of PMI. Chapters are at the heart of PMI. Volunteers are at the heart of PMI. And so because we have such a large community, there's over the years, there's been a lot of content developed, a lot of content shared, a lot of content is available. A great example is if you go onto projectmanagement.org. There are project managers from all over the world sharing content. It's great. But what we think is that actually, with so much content being gathered from the community from all over the world, and with the technology that we have these days, we can actually do something quite groundbreaking with that content. So this first piece of the strategy is about making sure that the content that's generated by the community is maximized and optimized and put back in the hands of the community so that they can do something even greater with it. So that's a big piece of work that we're working on. And so watch this space. An example of some of the stuff that we've been doing in AI, and I'll touch on that shortly. The second box, in terms of where we play, is the career-long learning and development. So right now, most people know the PMP. They know the PMP as the gold standard, the best project management certification in the world. And a lot of people are taking advantage of it. The question is, what do you do before the PMP and what do you do after the PMP? And so as part of the new strategy, we're focusing on this. We're looking at, yes, PMP is great, but let's look at those people who have a need before the PMP and possibly those people who have a need after the PMP. And it's not just with PMP you're talking about, it's some of our other certifications as well. So having more of a career-long learning and development as opposed to just middle of the career where most people are when they're doing the PMP, for instance. So you're going to see that our portfolio soon will be updated to be able to reflect some of this, to better cater to people who are before the PMP and after the PMP in terms of career stage and in terms of certification development. And then the third part is the most trusted gold standard professional certifications. Again, I'll use the PMP as an example because that's what a lot of people know. The PMP is that flashy certification, which is great. But why isn't everything else, all our other certifications, also gold standard? Because we have a lot of other certifications as well. And that's not to say they're not good, but in terms of being rock solid gold standard and in terms of us seeing people leverage that in the same way as they leverage the PMP, we want to see more of that. So this third part of where we play is about making sure that our entire portfolio of project management certifications, I think the battery is going, our entire portfolio of project management certifications is actually as gold standard as the PMP is. So that's just very quick, the section in red in terms of where we play. The next section, who we serve, just some background to explain why this is relevant. Typically, or before PMI Next, we said we served anybody and everybody who's doing anything that seems like a project. And we call them, thank you. And we call them change makers. So we said our audience is change makers. So anybody, whether they're in our orbit or not. The challenge with that is that it's difficult to serve everybody. So for the purposes of focus and the purposes of being efficient and being clear on where we've made an impact, we've defined more narrowly where we serve, and it's current and aspiring project professionals. So people who are either already in the project profession or they're aspiring to be in the project profession. And so that is really the focus of who we serve. And then that last, or the next section down, how we operate, we'll think about that as the principles. I'm not going to go into all the detail just in the interest of time, but on the left-hand side, where you see focus on the profession, this is what we're doing externally, facing the rest of the world. So for example, this first box, leading authority for project success, this is what we're doing facing externally. Whereas on the other side, internal capability, that is what we're doing internally to make sure that we can execute on our strategy. So just to touch on a few things. On the left-hand side, focus on the profession, making sure that we maintain and continue to grow as a leading profession, as a leading authority for project success. What does this mean? This means that being able to not just show what we're doing for the world, but to be able to measure the effect of what we've done for the world. And so right now, there's a lot of work being done on taking the definition of project success to the next level. What am I talking about? Right now, when we talk about project success, we say, was it delivered on time, within scope, within budget and quality? Those are good. That's a good framework. But how do we hold ourselves more accountable? How do we say this was successful because of X, Y, Z, and because we did blah, blah, blah? I'm saying blah, blah, blah because it's still a work in progress. We don't know what that is yet. But we're looking at, okay, how do we take things to the next level? So that's just an example of the leading authority. The second one, PMI by AI, I'm going to touch on that after this. I'll finish this whole slide. And everything on that left side, focus on the profession, as I said, is what we're doing externally facing the world. That middle part, activation model, these are sort of the principles that we use as we're making our decisions. So for instance, that in the activation model innovates 70-20-10. Of course, we're a membership-based organization. We are a for-purpose, not-for-profit. So how we make decisions, how we manage resources, especially how we manage members' funds is absolutely crucial. So the principle is 70% of what we spend or use has to be efficiency-based. In other words, we focus first on improving what we have before we look to invest in anything brand new. The other end of the spectrum, that's the 10. So the minority of our resources will be used for blue sky, new innovations, new spend, new investment. And then the 20 in the middle is the middle ground. So these are not exact numbers, but it's more in terms of principles that will always take an efficiency-based approach to how we allocate our resources. Expand globally. This is, of course, we're a global organization already, but this is around making sure that we leverage those regions around the world, those PMI regions around the world who are doing well, leverage them so for the benefit of other regions. I'll give an example. The US and China are by far the biggest regions in PMI. And in the last few years, we've actually slightly focused less on them. And if you focus less on your biggest assets, then the net impact is actually, you may slow down. So the whole point is to make sure that we continue to focus on our biggest and strongest assets so that they pull the rest of us along. And I'm going to say the rest of us like that because to put it in perspective for everybody, PMI Sub-Saharan Africa is about 2% of PMI Global. And so this is about making sure that the winning or the biggest and the most successful regions prosper so that we also prosper. And so a lot of the work that we do and I do, collaborating with some of the other regions, is to make sure that actually the net effect is that all of us grow together and move forward. And then that amplify across the flywheel. So the flywheel is all parts of PMI. So as a strategy, we're making sure that all parts of PMI work in coordination, because it's typical in any company that silos happen. Companies or departments, not companies, departments within companies can become isolated and work in silos. And so this part is about making sure that actually every part of the organization works together. The part on the last section on the right, internal capability building, for the interest of time, I'm not going to go into each of those, but this is showing all of what we need to do internally to make sure that we're able to execute on the strategy for the benefit of our members. And a lot of it is around technology innovation, making sure that we use data in the best way possible, and understanding our audience's digital experience as best way possible. And all of this, everything I've said, really rests on our culture. That's the section in blue. You can't see it there. The screen is cut. But below that, there's a culture. And the culture is around making it easy to work with one another. We'll work with one another and work together as a professional body, whether we're in the chapter or a customer, whatever the case. Aiming higher. How do we keep on pushing the boundaries? How do we drive more success? Being welcoming, embracing curiosity, and of course, together we can is one of the most popular phrases in terms of our culture. So really, in a nutshell, this is what PMI Next is. Of course, there's a lot of detail behind it, and I'm happy to speak with anybody with regards to the detail. Now, I'm just going to go back and talk about AI. So, PMI by AI. This piece here. So, remember I said focus on the profession is what we're doing externally. And one of the biggest things we're doing externally this year is AI. Generative AI is, of course, this year, maybe it's just me, but I feel like from end of last year, beginning of this year, AI has just been completely accelerating and mind-blowing. And so it's really, really important for PMI, or it has been really, really important for PMI to figure out what's going on and to come up with a way to support the profession. And so what have we done? We've done several things to be able to put the right tools, the right AI tools in the hands of project managers. But before I talk about what those tools are, just generally speaking, what are we all seeing as some of the impacts of AI or artificial intelligence? Many of you would have seen this already, know this already, and maybe even experienced it. But the first one is around the administrative shift. Sorry. Yeah. So AI, we're seeing it is taking a lot of our admin. And let me say this before I continue. We did some research maybe about 6 months ago, or maybe even before 6 months. Global research. We asked several thousand project managers from all around the world, are you seeing AI in your work, or the potential of AI in your work? 90% said yes. Then we asked the question, are you using AI tools in your work? How many of them said yes? What percentage? Any guesses? Sorry? A little bit more than 10, 22%. So 90% said they can see AI in their work, but only 22% are actually using AI. So for me, that's a problem. If you know that something is in your space, but you're not in control of it, that, for me personally, that's a bit of a problem. And so looking at this research, before I go into the research bit, just talking again about some of where we see AI, administrative shift, and I use that example because in that example, in that research, people talked about some of the admin things that are being taken over or being used in their work. For example, scheduling, AI taking over scheduling, AI looking at status reports, tracking deliverables, that sort of thing. The other area where we see AI is analytical benefits, which is fantastic. If you feed in the right data, you can get some incredibly fantastic, analysis done by AI in a fraction of the time. Also, risk management, depending on how you position your queries or how you use your AI. You can use AI's predictive capabilities to actually do your risk management. And then there's communication with stakeholders. A very, very basic example, something that I've seen in the last few months, and you've all seen it. Is it Assembly? You guys know Assembly? So when you're on for example, a Teams call, and then somebody who's not there sends the Assembly to join the meeting. And Assembly is the AI version of that person taking notes. I'm like, where's this person? No, the Assembly is taking the notes. For me, that's mind-blowing. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't think I like it personally, but but anyway, just in terms of meeting collaboration, these are some of the areas that AI has started to cover. And then also stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is a key part of project management, and AI can be really, really great, if I can use that word, to help you make sure that your stakeholder management is on point. And the list goes on. In the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip forward. So, coming back to PMI next, as I said, it's been really, really obvious to PMI the impact. You can find this in our latest thought leadership report. But it's been really, really obvious to PMI in terms of some of the impact that's been made, and also where project managers stand. As I said, if 90% are saying they can see where AI can take over their work, but only 20% are actually using AI, it's been important for PMI to make a move. And so many of you will know that actually from the beginning of this year, we did make a move. So in January, we launched 2 courses, Generative AI Overview for Project Managers. This is in order to give project managers an overview of the AI landscape. Because personally, I think it's wise to understand where tech is going and how it's coming into your space, if I can use those words. So quickly, we launched these 2 courses for our members and the broader project management community. And this is all about helping, as I said, helping project managers to understand the situation. And then in February, we also launched PMI Infinity. This is a personal assistant, right? It's all about using the AI tool, which has one of the best, if not the best library, the best project management library in the world, to ask the right questions as you are doing your day-to-day work. It's like having it is like having an assistant where you can ask any question and you get the answer that you need. In February, we launched the PMP exam simulator. As you're studying, you can ask, why is the answer for this question this way? Why did I get it wrong? And the AI will actually help you. Just this month, we launched the library of prompts, because the use of your AI tool is only as good as the questions that you ask it. And so it's all about being good at asking the right questions. In other words, prompts. And so just this month, we launched the library of prompts that helps you to think about, okay, what's the best way for me to look at the situation and ask this question so that I can get the right results from AI. In November, we've got the Africa Conference, now known as Global Summit Series Africa. And we want to have a workshop around AI. For example, step by step to using AI in your day-to-day work. Just out of interest, just because I said we want to, it's not done yet. Just out of interest, would that be of interest to anybody? If it is, put your hand up. If not, keep your hand down. Okay. So it's not really interesting. Maybe 30%. The questions. Reframe the question. Okay. Okay, yes. So, so in November, at our Africa conference, which is held every year, it's going to be in Kigali this year, we have many topics. One of those topics we're thinking of making sure that we have as a session is step-by-step guide to AI in your day-to-day work. And we're just wondering whether that's useful. It may or may not be, because all of this is already there. But the difference is this would be live in person and someone taking you through step by step. So would this be helpful or not? Very helpful. Okay. Okay, I got it. Thank you. So that's November. And then on an ongoing basis, as I mentioned, we have thought leadership. If you Google PMI thought leadership AI, you'll see that there's a lot of really brand new world-leading thought leadership on AI. And then just to close, we were just talking about the Africa Conference, or what used to be known as the Africa Conference. As you see, PMI Africa Conference is now what? Global Summit Series Africa. So please don't Google when is PMI Africa Conference, because you may not find it. It's when is Global Summit Series Africa. I'm really excited. As I said, it's in Kigali this year. One of the reasons I'm excited is because of the theme that we landed on. The theme that we landed on is Africa on purpose. And that's the theme for this year. Why did we choose that theme? Because we're always talking about it's Africa's time, the Africa we want, which is fantastic. But what is the speciality of project managers? The speciality of project managers is turning ideas to reality. And so as we're turning the idea of the Africa we want and the idea of Africa's time, we want to do it intentionally. We want to do it with a knowledge of the landscape, and we want to do it with as much impact and purpose as possible. So this is why we've gone with the theme Africa on purpose. I'm really hoping that we'll see you there. Please put your hand up if you're going to be there. I'm joking. But it'll be great. It'll be great to see everybody there. I just want to thank you for sharing your time. I'm open to questions. Do we have time for Q&A? We do? 2 minutes Q&A. Thank you very much. 2 minutes Q&A. Thank you. Questions?
Can I have a microphone, please? Yes. Let me see a hand up. Right there. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Pascal Paga from MTN. Yes. I help in implementing IT projects. So the topic about PMI XI, I deeply relate with it. So there has been some concerns about biases in AI, whereby maybe the data set is prejudiced, or let's say the algorithm is flawed. And with the move to adopt AI, how do you think that we will be able to preach so that people will be able to, adopt this AI very well? Because, there was a case that I think with some samples, if you are black, it takes you out of the queue. But if you are white, it allows you to go. And I think it raised some concerns. What's your view on this, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid concern. My view is that we are focusing on something professional. The same PMBOK guide that you have as a Ghanaian is the same PMBOK guide that a white American guy or girl has. Our data set is based on professional material. There's no social filter. There's no other filter. It's purely professional. So it's not a social or everything data set. It's purely the same material that you have access to, the same PMI gold standards and material and research, which is fed into the data set. Does that answer the question? Thanks.
I'd allow that we take one more. Yes, one more right there.
My name is Alex Kwekutio.
Alex.
AI PMP exam stimulator. Is AI going to answer PMP questions for students? And if yes or no, if AI knows all exams questions, the PMP exams, or AI knows PMP, how is it going to play for practitioners learning PMP or taking the time to be PMP? Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, we don't feed it all the questions, so it doesn't know all the questions. But I guess if AI is smart enough, it can figure out where you're going. And second of all, it's supposed to be more of a tutor than a dictator. So it's more around how you learn, as opposed to just giving you answers just like that. So that's how it's built, if that answers the question. Thank you. Any other questions? Or?
Ladies and gentlemen, please a huge round of applause.
Thank you.
I told you and I promised you earlier, George always brings this insights from PMI's SSA for us. One more time, let's appreciate him while he packs out. I believe Kigali is going to be very interesting, and I know that Mr. President, PMI Ghana is taking me to Kigali. Please, if we all agree, make some loud noise in this place so that he has the authority and the power to do that. Oh, yes.